No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Who needs 5-on-5 goals to win a hockey game? The Winnipeg Jets certainly don't. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, both from Winnipeg and the Southern Bureau of Illegal Curve here in Frankfort, Kentucky, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to talk about tonight's Winnipeg Jets 4-2 victory on home ice against the Vancouver Canucks, ending the Jets' 3-game losing streak, putting an end to the Canucks' 7-game road winning streak, and putting smiles on the faces of those who were inside yet another sold-out downtown Winnipeg arena. Dave Manouk, good to see you on this Thursday evening. Winnipeg Jets get a much-needed victory after having lost those 3 games in a row.
Yeah, I saw Mark Scheifele's dad in between the second period and the intermission as I was leaving to come home, of course, to get ready for the post-game show. He had a big smile on his face, of course, with his son having scored 2 goals already at that point, and maybe he knew something. Maybe he had an inkling that Mark Scheifele was going to score his 7th career hat trick later on in the third period. But you know what, Drew? It was fans can now freely attend Jets games again. It was a sellout crowd, and you thought, well, I mean, they sold it out, but so far the preceding 3 sellouts haven't gone well for Winnipeg. But the Jets win a sellout game, so it all is well in Jets land. And you know, you have to start, of course, with the opening ceremony honoring Sam Gagner in his 1,000th game. Still not easy for me to say, apparently. But I thought the Jets did a really nice job with the ceremony. I thought they honored Sam Gagner, who obviously has played the majority of his NHL career elsewhere outside of Winnipeg. But now the third 1,000 games ceremony the Jets have hosted, obviously for Paul Stastny, Blake Wheeler, and now Sam Gagner. And I thought it was very nicely done. I thought it was nice having his family out there. I thought it was nice the way both teams, you know, of course, he played for the Vancouver Canucks, and the way both teams and the coaching staffs all honored him in that regard. So extremely nice ceremony. And, it was nice seeing him, I didn't know if they showed it on the broadcast, but there was a ton of folks wearing, like, they had the cutouts of the Sam Gagner and all his different uniforms up against the glass during warm-up. So there was a lot of fun with it. And obviously the players were all wearing Sam Gagner T-shirts in advance of during the warm-up, warm-up soccer game, I should say. So no, look, it was a nice ceremony, and you didn't know how it was going to go for the Winnipeg Jets, and of course, it got off to a bit of an inauspicious start in the opening period of the game, and we'll get into that in a second. But like I said, I like the way the Jets put on that ceremony, and it was nice to see him be honored the way he was, and the crowd was responsive, and you could tell it was a celebratory evening, of course. Much like we've seen this Jets club do at least the last 4, 5, 6 games. I mean, they're not there to start a game. And I mean, from a literal perspective, in the sense that these teams are scoring against them, but also they're not possessing the puck and they're not getting any shots on net. So you're watching these games and you're thinking to yourself, like, what are the Jets doing? Like, they didn't have a shot till the 10-minute and 39-second mark of this. And that shot was as loose a definition as a shot as you've ever seen, because it was going, 10 feet over Colin Delia. And in fact, it was interesting because they put it on the board, and Mike McIntyre, the free press, who sits just 2 seats over from us, he says, "Oh, they got a shot." And then I looked and I'm like, actually, Mike, so he tweeted out, I'm like, actually, they don't have a shot. They just took it off the board. So I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense because it really wasn't going to be a shot on net. He just stopped it with his glove, which obviously wouldn't necessarily necessitate a shot. And then 1 second later, they put it back on as a shot. So even that first shot didn't necessarily qualify as one. And look, the Jets weren't, even though the ceremony was nice, they weren't ready to go to start. And that Dylan Sandberg pizza, of course, Drew, and we'll get into that with the game recap. That certainly didn't start things off for the Jets, and you kind of had a, oh God, here they go again, and such a tough situation, of course, because like I said, they want to get the crowd into it. The crowd's excited, nice weather, and they're looking, and like you said in the thing, and I didn't realize it either until someone told me that it had been 7 games in a row that the Canucks had been hot. And they've been, I think Mike was talking about it, and just that idea of how good a road team they've been, because of course the Canucks have been terrible all season long, and then all of a sudden they've ripped off 7 straight wins on the road. And of course, folks here in Winnipeg know what the Jets have done. So the Jets needed to arrest their slide today. There was no question about it. They absolutely had to pick up a win. Today was a critical, again, not a season-defining win, but it was certainly 2 points that the Jets needed to put in the bank.
Well, you're absolutely right, because you have a game that's going on right now. I think the Wild and the Stars are still playing each other, or at least they were earlier, and I'm not sure exactly what the score is right now. But that the Wild were inching closer to the Jets and had the Wild.
I think the Stars were up 4-2. The Stars were up 4-2, I think, when I last checked. But
I haven't checked.
Sorry, Stars won 4-1.
Okay, so there you go. So it's important for so the Stars, stay in first place in the Central Division. The Jets keep pace with Dallas, and then they take that space again, and they increase the space between them and the Minnesota Wild after the Wild win on Tuesday. You don't want a 3-game losing streak to snowball, and I know you don't need to deep analysis to figure out why that's the case, why it's always better to win than it is to lose. But the Jets, you knew that their schedule after tonight, they go on the road to Edmonton, then they come home to face Calgary, and you knew that the game against Vancouver is the easiest of the games that were going to be on the upcoming portion of the schedule. They have Vancouver tonight, of course. They have Vancouver a week from Sunday as well, to finish off that homestand, if I'm not mistaken. I know they have Calgary on that homestand and Tampa, and you have Vancouver. So you want to, you don't want that losing streak to continue to snowball. You don't want that to become any more than what it already has been. So it's important to take care of the win tonight. And that first period, as Dave mentioned, that's just not a good first period for the Jets. They're not ready to start the game. And that's even, if you take away, take the Dylan Sandberg free pizza out of the picture, that's still not how you want to start the game, not getting a shot on goal until the latter half of the first period. That's just not the way you can start a game against an opponent. That's not respecting an opponent. But then from then on, they got so much better, and they got so much better in that second period and that third period, because had it not been for Colin Delia making a number of tremendous saves. You think about the save off Kyle Connor, of course, on the breakaway, the save off Dylan DeMello. It's probably a 4-1 game or a 5-1 game, and it doesn't even get to be an empty net opportunity for the Jets. But they stuck with it, and they didn't panic after they got sort of that fluky, oh, here are the bells, let the bells ring. Okay, there's the bells. It's 11 o'clock Eastern time is what the bells are telling us, 10 o'clock Central. But what I was saying, that after the fluky goal that Connor Garland scores, and we'll get into it, of course, in the Betway game recap, they stuck with it. It's not like they panicked. There was no panic in their game at all, which is what you want to see in that situation. And they're without Josh Morrissey at that point, because Morrissey and the health of Morrissey is probably the big takeaway from the end of this game, Dave.
Oh, well, there's no question about it. And it's one of those, I mean, Tyler Myers, where did you learn to hit? You never hit when you were wearing a Winnipeg Jets uniform, but certainly he looked like he was.
But he could score for the Jets. I don't know. You were probably still in the arena. Dan
no,
Robertson,
I heard
you heard
59 games.
That's an incredible stat that Tyler Myers has now gone 59 games without scoring a goal for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, this is a guy who was an offensive player when he was a member of the Winnipeg Jets. That was what his strong suit was. And he somehow managed to go, a Dylan DeMello-esque length of time without scoring a goal. Obviously, that was a bad contract the day it was signed. I think everyone knew that, but I did not realize that his slump was as significant as
Yeah.
it is until Dan Robertson said that on the broadcast.
Hey, Dylan DeMello was the TSN turning point. His phantom penalty in the second period. We'll get into that obviously when we get rolling. Let's give a shout out to Dark Moon's girlfriend Jamie in Carmen, Manitoba, home of Eddie the Eagle Belfour, and potentially his girlfriend as well. So hello, Jamie in Carmen. Hopefully you're watching us, and Comet's giving you a shout out as well. Maul is saying the clock has more and better insight than Ezzy. We agree, especially when Ezzy's God knows how many drinks in Mexico right now. We don't even know what he's talking about. So we'll see.
Somebody asked if he was flying on Sunwing, and I really don't know the answer. But would it surprise you in the least if he was flying on Sunwing and we don't see him for? I mean, he's supposed to do the post-game show with you on Saturday. I was going to say,
don't be so glib, Drew. I'm supposed to be doing that. I'm doing Saturday solo right now, the morning show and potentially the post-game show. So it may be a Dave Minuk experience for everyone in the chat. We'll see about that, of course. But hey. There, we could have some fun. We'll end 2022 with some of my closest friends here online. So let's roll like that. I don't mind if that's what we end up having to do. But for right now, the plan is, of course, for Ezzy to. Oh, Dark Moon says she's right beside you. Well, then, hello, Jamie and Dark Moon. Although, why do we not know Dark Moon's name?
That's okay.
I mean,
Dark Moon's anonymous, but Jamie, we assume that's not a pseudonym.
He just outed Jamie.
We assume Jamie is her real name, but maybe
actually, that's her pseudonym. That's a good one, Drew. But anyway, so look, getting back to your original question. I mean, the situation with Josh Morrissey, of course, is disconcerting to say the least, and we won't. The Jets are supposed to practice tomorrow. There was some commentary that they may choose to skip it and instead just head directly to Edmonton. And so we'll have to wait till obviously the morning skate on Saturday to find out exactly what is happening with Josh Morrissey. If, of course, they don't have anything tomorrow, we'll find that out, of course, in the morning. But I mean, it's a bad situation potentially, and it was similar to what we saw in the last game where Josh Morrissey left the ice, shook off there. He was shaking off his arm. And in this situation, of course, I didn't see it because it happened in the third period. So I was home. So I was subject to what the broadcast was showing. And sure enough, you didn't get any sort of insight as to all we saw was, okay, he's back on the bench, didn't take a shift. He looked like he was still in a bit of pain, though. He was on the bench, kind of looked a little bit not 100%. And then, of course, went back to the room and didn't take another shift for the rest of the game. Most likely precautionary, of course, because you have a lead. You don't really want to risk it. You can't afford to risk losing Josh Morrissey. He's been your best defenseman by a mile the entire season. So you don't want to do anything that's going to cause him any damage. So I'm not shocked that they maybe wanted to, I mean, I'm sure that was his call ultimately, obviously, because he was back on the bench, right?
Well, it's the C word that you're most afraid of. I mean, it didn't seem like there was anything immediately that would be a physical injury, but it's the C word when you're sort of.
I was going to say a different C word, Drew.
Okay, well, I mean, the C word I'm saying.
Bailey's in the chat, so I won't.
That's right. You behave, exactly. You behave and you mind your mouth there. I know how you like to look blue, there, Mr. Minuk. You're just wearing blue. You don't have to work blue.
There you go.
That's the first thing that comes to mind is sort of an unsuspecting hit when he sort of looks up and there's nothing dirty about it. Don't get me wrong. It's a perfectly clean play.
Yeah.
You're worried about the brain and everything else, and you obviously hope that it's not that. But as we find out things, if we find out things, we'll of course let everyone know here on the post game show, or tomorrow if there's an update, it'll be on illegalcurve.com. But we're keeping an eye on things and we're monitoring the situation as the expression goes. We say good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Illegal Curve post game show. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, we're with you on this Thursday evening discussing the Winnipeg Jets, a 4-2 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. Sam Gagner's 1,000th game in the NHL. Nice that he gets that honor in front of his friends and family, of course, tonight. And I think Bailey's putting some of his quotes in the chat. So the Illegal Curve intern doing a great job, as she always does. But let's get into the game recap, Dave. The game recap, of course, is brought by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. it's not the start that the Winnipeg Jets want. By no means is it the start that the Winnipeg Jets want, playing as a team that's had trouble scoring goals recently, given their number of regulars who are out of the lineup. And it's the start that the Vancouver Canucks want, a team that has won 7 in a row on the road entering tonight's game. It's Andrei Kuzmenko, his 15th of the year, assist to Elias Pettersson. And it's Dylan Sandberg, what are you doing? Because he just sends a puck up the middle of the ice like you wouldn't do a 10-year-old house league. You would know better than to do that. He makes the mistake, and it ends up behind Connor Hellebuyck to give the Canucks the early 1-0 lead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pizza. It was a free pizza, as former Jets bench boss Claude Noel was fond of saying with what was his name? Was it Johnny Oduya?
Yeah,
Johnny Oduya giving away all the free pizzas, and Claude Noel was always happy to talk about those free pizzas. And yeah, I mean, it's not a great. It's not a good pass, and it's not a good play to make early in the first period in a situation where you've now lost 3 games in a row. Your team is reeling. You're down 7 regulars, and you really just can't afford to have a lapse, because Vancouver right now is feeling very good about themselves. Now, the only area the Vancouver Canucks are not feeling good about themselves, which the Jets were able to take advantage of course, was specialty teams, and specifically on the penalty kill. But, the truth is that Vancouver Canucks still have some very dangerous weapons, and they are playing better as a collective group. And so you're in a situation where, and we talked to Kevin Woodley when he came on our Saturday show. I can't remember if that was I guess it would have been 2 Saturdays ago,
yeah.
Our last Saturday show. And he talked about the Canucks goaltending and how it actually has been, even though it is their 3rd, 4th stringers, they've actually been decent, and they've actually stepped up for the Vancouver Canucks. So you're not in a situation where you can just say, well, it's their 3rd string goaltender, they're not a very good team. Well, they're feeling very good, and the team coming in with confidence, is playing a little bit differently. And when you barely, so there's a couple of things, right? First of all, the Canucks get that early boost, so now they're feeling good about themselves. Interestingly enough, courtesy of our friends at Betway, Drew, the Jets were the heavy favorites in this game, which was interesting given the fact that Vancouver had won 7 in a row on the road. Came into the game having won 3 straight games. Jets had lost what?
Here's the update on Josh Morrissey, courtesy of Winnipeg Jets head coach Rick Bowness, and tweeted out by many of our colleagues in the media who are there for the post-game press conference.
Sure.
Josh Morrissey has suffered a minor lower body injury. He'll be treated Friday, and the hope is that he'll play Saturday in Edmonton. So
there we go.
Sounds like a best case scenario for the Winnipeg Jets right there, is that it is a minor lower body injury for Josh Morrissey. His status is to be determined for Saturday, but there's some confidence that he'll be able to go on Saturday against the Oilers in Edmonton as the Jets wrap up 2022. So there you have it. Sorry for interrupting, Dave.
No, that's all good, Drew. That's the type of breaking news that you always have to interrupt and you did it in a respectful manner. You gave me the old timeout, so I knew what I need. See, you didn't hold your timeout and lose it. You used it properly, and were able to get a good pause for me and get the show rolling. But then again, and we'll talk about injuries after when we come back from break. But you never know. Sacramento Line was the next guy up. Now, not so much. So we'll get into that later. But I think the Jets really needed to have a good start. Because, like I said, you got a Canucks team that's feeling good about themselves, and you got a Jets team that, quite frankly, isn't. And you got a Jets team, guys. The Canucks and the Canucks organization. It was funny because there were a ton of people from the Canucks organization in the press box, and I was like, "What's going?" And then I realized, well, Abbotsford is, of course, here Friday, Saturday to play the Manitoba Moose. And realistically, guys and girls, the Abbotsford Canucks, the Vancouver Canucks, we're playing part of the Manitoba Moose tonight, with the exception, of course, of Connor Hellebuyck. But almost everybody on the ice today had worn antlers at one point in their careers. So it's tough for this Jets club because of the composition of the lineup, because of the roster, and we saw a change up from the top heavy, loaded up front end, top end. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I liked a little bit more balance. I like that because if you don't have that connectivity, then at least that trio going, I should say, then at least you can maybe have Lowry and Scheifele. And I wasn't sure about the move of Lowry to the wing and Mark Scheifele at center, but it seems to have worked for this game at least. So an interesting sort of.
I was going to say, I agree with you. I thought these lines, as constructed today, were much better than the lines on Tuesday against Minnesota. I liked having a little bit more balance.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's still so many regulars out of the lineup, and you're trying to make do, and you're trying to piece it together. But definitely, I liked Scheifele and Lowry together more than the Scheifele, Dubois, Connor sort of super line, and then everything sort of a little bit behind that after that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so, I like I said, ultimately, this is a long way of getting to the idea that you're a Jets club that is fragile and you cannot afford to do what they did. And they've done it consistently. And they really, I mean, that should be the question for, and we, of course, don't know what the questions are to Rick Bowness right now, but that to me, his slow starts. Because now, I mean, it's happened in games and it's happened within games, because if you remember, I think it was the Washington game, that second period, the same thing happened. They didn't have a shot for about 10 minutes in the second period, in addition to the first period. So these slow starts, either in periods or to start games, I understand, again, the limitations of the lineup, but you're still the home team and you still have pretty good scoring depth. Now, I will say the qualifier is the Jets currently have 29 guys on the roster because none of these guys are on LTIR. The 7 injured guys are just on IR, so they still count towards the cap. And the Jets are still under the cap. And the Jets, worth noting, of their 12 forwards, only 4 make over $1 million, right? Mark Scheifele, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Kyle Connor, and Adam Lowry. The rest don't. I think that is worth putting into perspective because I think sometimes we lose it and we say, well, these guys are all professionals. They are, but that is a big chunk of your lineup to be missing, some big numbers there. And sometimes guys get more money than they should. But regardless of the value, and we don't necessarily, we talk about it with Blake Wheeler all the time. You don't necessarily talk about contract value. I think it puts it into perspective a little bit, though, that this Jets club is reeling with injuries. And like we said, now it's 7. So, yeah, a tough way to start the game, not an ideal way. And again, Connor Hellebuck had to be good because there are a couple of instances where it could have been a 2-0 game, a 3-0, and to me, the way the Jets have been playing, you don't know if 2-0 is kind of like enough to like set this team, askew.
2-0 from my perspective is certainly an uphill climb for this team. I mean, look, they didn't get any goals 5-on-5 tonight. They won 4-2 and they won relatively handily, but it was all special teams and of course the penalty shot and everything else and went into the empty net. So, this team is not built, you hear it's a cliche in football, not built to come back from behind. And the Jets right now, as currently constructed, are not built to come back from behind, which made their start to the game all the more disconcerting as they were struggling to find their skating legs for the first 10 minutes of that first period. And then they got a lot better, and they got better in the latter half of the first period, and then they got real good in the second period. Because from the second period on, it was a really one-sided game. I mean, the shots, and I know shots aren't necessarily always emblematic of the flow of the game and everything else, but in this instance, I would say it was. The shots after 20 minutes were 9-6 in favor of the Vancouver Canucks. And then for the next 40 minutes, the second and the third period, the Jets outshot Vancouver by a margin of 33-13. I mean, that is incredible one-sidedness in a game that Vancouver just seems to have collapsed in for the second and the third periods, and we're fortunate to really have a chance to try and tie the game in that third period thanks to that fluky Connor Garland goal. But the Jets, whatever happened in the intermission, and we'll look at Twitter in the commercial break and see if anybody alluded to a conversation in the dressing room in that first period. But from the second and the third period, when they came out for the second period, it was a much different team. And it took them a while to get the tying goal in that second period. They had to work through it. And it eventually came at the 13:52 mark of the second period. Mark Scheifele on the power play, his 21st assist to Josh Morrissey and Kyle Connor. And it's just a tremendous tip. And I love sort of the tips where the puck, the tip occurs in the slot, and then the puck hits the ice, and then it bounces up and over the goalie. And that's what you saw here from Mark Scheifele. Sometimes the tips are just sort of redirections that go straight in. This one was a tip that managed to hit the ice and then bounce Colin Delia, which just goes to show you how good the tip was by Mark Scheifele to tie it up in one. A perfect shot by Morrissey and a perfect tip by Scheifele, and the Jets get the equalizer, an all-important equalizer, and take advantage of Vancouver's 32nd ranked power play to give them the 1-1 tie at that point.
Yeah, and I think I highlighted comment because I think it's a good one. The Jets killed comment. Yes, because they killed the Morgan Barron penalty in the first period, and they killed the Dylan DeMello penalty early in the second period, and those are big kills. And the Canucks don't come in with a significant power play. I don't think it's a top 15 ranked power play or anything like that. But the reality is they have the man advantage, and if they score that second goal, Drew, as we've talked about, that could have been quite a difference maker for this hockey game. But instead, the Jets PK, which has been very good this season, holds them off. And then, it's amazing because I watched the play. Dylan DeMello got, the call that ended up resulting in that power play for the Winnipeg Jets. And I mean, it was a questionable penalty. I didn't actually think it was a penalty call, but regardless, I mean, the refs call it. And so the Jets get the power play, and you're right. There was some nice movement, and what a surprise, Connor, Morrissey, and Scheifele. It seems like automatic. And you're right. It's an absolutely beautiful tip. Guy standing in front, which is exactly where you need to be. The Jets had good movement on the power play. They had some really good looks, but ultimately, they did what they needed to do, which is, and I jokingly said to the guys in the press box, I said, well, the refs just wanted to create this, make this a 1-1 game, because you knew the way their PK was working or not working in Vancouver, that there was a very good chance that the Jets were gonna get their equalizer, and they did. And Mark Scheifele, 21 goals at the time, of course, he has a few more after that, but 21 goals on the season, and what's his career high? 29. So Mark Scheifele is much like Josh Morrissey, gonna crush his career high, and he's on pace. I think he's nibbling around that 50 goal mark right now. And so this is exactly what you needed. And I said it, when you are as limited as the Jets are, this is going to sound as obvious as obvious can be, Captain Obvious, but you need Mark Scheifele, you need Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you need Adam Lowry. And those three guys I actually thought stepped up significantly. And especially I thought Pierre-Luc Dubois tried to, especially in the first period when the Jets didn't look like they had it, I thought he tried to beast mode it a little bit and try and really kind of bull in a china shop his way through and try to create some things. So I think that if you've got those guys going, even despite the limitations you have with your roster overall, as long as those other guys can kind of hold their own, and that's the key, of course. And you didn't early on, we saw kind of the cycle working and just dying. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby using his speed, but then not doing anything with it. And similar plays in the Canucks zone in the second period. And you're like, well, what exactly are the Jets doing? They're not creating from those dangerous chances. And again, right now, you do not right now, there's nobody who's complaining that the Jets are only going to score power play goals and win games. Nobody's or a penalty shot goal and win a game. You can't malign it, because the reality is right now, special teams might be the only way the Jets can score. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you have to take advantage of your opportunities, and B, that's just the reality. That's where the Jets can throw out their top, 3, 4, 5 guys and take advantage of a situation because of their elite talent.
I'd like to stop the show for a brief moment and acknowledge that Phyllis, who of course is a regular here on the program,
sure,
and it's 10:15, 10:20 Central Time, is going to the gym now. And I just want to pay tribute to Phyllis for doing that. That's impressive. It is 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I don't know how many of us would be possibly going to the gym right now, but I just think
I used to work out at this time.
You used to work out at this time? I'm impressed. That is a
well. I would say that was back when I was in school, and I would finish. Sometimes I had some late classes and finish it.
I don't believe that Phyllis is in school.
I had a good routine. I'd finish class at 9 o'clock. I'd come back to my place. I'd go to the 24-hour gym. I'd work out, come back. I'd start studying at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I'd watch Phoenix Suns basketball while studying. It was I had a great routine.
Well, I never had that routine, as is evident, but I would like to give credit to Phyllis for, I don't know if she was at the game tonight or not, but whatever it is, Phyllis, work out extra hard for me. You're getting a salute from me for that.
More importantly, I mean, we appreciate Phyllis still because I'm sure she'll be watching us while she's working out. But yes. I hope she's spreading the word about Illegal Curve while at the gym and being like, first of all, it should be on the television. Second of all, everybody who's in the gym, all the other hardcores like Phyllis, should be watching the Illegal Curve postgame show.
It only makes sense, but I just wanted to apologize for that interruption. I just saw that in the chat out of the corner of my eye. And
Frosty Winnipeg is working out vicariously through Phyllis. So way to go.
So am I all the time. That's how I do it. Although I'll be honest, I don't have a Peloton down here. My Peloton's in Winnipeg, but I do miss the Peloton. Someone's doing well. I know. I can afford Grid Park. I can afford Grid Park parking too, Dave. That's true. I am a millionaire based on that commercial. Just for everyone else who was asking about the Grid Park outtake commercial, it's still in the edit. It's still in the editing bay. So we're not quite ready to release it. We will release it as soon as we can. It's not going to be tonight. You're just going to have to suffer through Dave and I tonight. But the outtakes of the Grid Park commercial will be available soon.
I got lots going. By the way, big thanks to Stan Scott, who gave a
very generous amount of money there. Yes, thank you.
And said, I think Vancouver's power play is currently 8th. So there you go. So they do have the 8th ranked power play. So there you go. I didn't know that exactly. But you know what? I think the key is, and like I said, that's a key to the game because the Jets right now, I'm not saying they couldn't come back from a 2-0, especially if they got power play opportunities themselves, because as we've talked about, the Vancouver power play, not very good. But the reality is that a 2-0 game could have been a very different situation for Winnipeg. So there, you've got to credit the Jets penalty kill for coming up big. Connor Hellebuyck, of course, making some stops as he usually does. And at the end of the day, you've got yourselves up. Sorry, back to where we were, Drew, which was Mark Scheifele tying the game and making it 1-0.
And then it doesn't take much longer. It takes less than 2 minutes for the Jets to take the lead, a lead that they wouldn't relinquish. It's not the game-winning goal, but it's the goal that gives them the lead in tonight's game. And it's Pierre-Luc Dubois who goes beast mode, as you were referencing, and Ethan Bear has no other option but to hook him on a breakaway opportunity, which leads to a penalty shot. An immediate penalty shot is awarded to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who swings out to the right and then comes in and just absolutely snipes a shot past Colin Delia. And there was just a beautiful play by Pierre-Luc Dubois, a guy who's playing with so much confidence so far this year. It's his 17th of the season, and it gives the Jets the all-important 2-1 lead. And it's sort of just, things go from bad to worse for the Vancouver Canucks very quickly in that sequence, as they've been dominated in the second period, but they've been able to sort of tread water. They've been able to hold on to that lead. And then in the span of less than 2 minutes, the Jets take that 2-1 lead, and it's Dubois just with an incredible play. Did I see that you tweeted the stat? And correct me if I'm wrong. The Jets have had 17.
You stole it from me, Drew. That was going to be I was going to come in here and look so smart. Instead, I mean, I appreciate you crediting me, but go on.
You tweeted it. So once you tweeted it, it's out for the public domain. But
hopefully everybody who's here follows me on Twitter.
That's right. You should follow IC Dave. He's the stat man. You get some interesting tidbits from Dave Minuk, and as he likes to do his on pace for sort of math numbers there. But the Jets have had 17 penalty shots since they've returned to Winnipeg, and this is only their third goal on 17 penalty shots.
Correct.
Obviously, that doesn't include the shootouts. But that is a horrible percentage. Yes. That's just an atrociously bad percentage, which is hard to believe because they've got some pretty good shooters that have come through this team in the last decade.
So don't ruin it, Drew. Let's go to the chat here. Let's give the chat the option to answer.
Okay.
I mean, maybe you didn't read my tweet all the way down, but maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Okay, so the Jets have had 3 guys score on 17, as Flying Dukes is saying. 3 out of 17. What? But the reality is, so we know Pierre-Luc Dubois has one of those 3 goals. Who scored the other 2? Now, the clues I will give you, which are very limited, are one was scored 2016-17 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the other was the year before, the 15-16, the very first one in Jets 2.0 history, and that was against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So you've got 2015-16, 2016-17. It's also crazy to think that KG3 didn't even hesitate. Now, hopefully that's because KG3 follows me on Twitter, but KG3 knew it. Nikolai Ehlers against Tampa Bay Lightning and Brian Little against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Kenny's water bottle knew a little. So did Winnipeg Chaser, Danica Smith. No, not Little. Well, Little Buff. Who's Little Buff? Is that Nikolai Ehlers?
Because he likes Dustin Bufflin.
Oh, I thought you meant Little Buff. That was a new nickname. No, not Dustin Bufflin. No, there you go. I like Matthew Thompson's answer. Little and Party. No, Adam Party did not score. Ehlers
he dangled, but he never scored.
He did dangle.
He did dangle. Shot.
Yes. Well, Bailey, if you didn't hear the question, you got to go back and listen. Which means, see, KG3 following Icy Dave pays off. I like it.
Exactly.
Well done,
That's why
KG3. So
yes,
look, it first of all, okay, a couple of things. I sound like Charles Barkley. First of all, but sorry, I fanboyed for a second. I just thinking about Charles Barkley, got so excited. But I will say that, oh man, are you kidding? Charles Barkley's like the.
I love Chuck, but I just
come on, Drew. You give me a look. It's like
consciousness.
No, I mean Charles Barkley's like I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care about meeting anyone except for maybe you. And I'm not joking. Charles Barkley's the one person I'd be like speechless around. I'd be like, I couldn't say anything because I'd be like, Chuck's the best. Like they are. I don't even care if you're a basketball fan. Although if you are a basketball fan, hopefully you watch that Mavericks Knicks game because that was one of the best endings of a basketball game I've ever watched. Sorry, I'm turning this into the
illegal screen basketball show.
Something. But I will say the halftime show, whatever you want to call it, with
inside
EJ
inside the NBA.
No, I know inside the NBA, but I'm saying, they watch it, whatever. But I'm saying EJ, Shaq. I didn't really like Shaq at first, but I like him now. Charles and Kenny the Jet Smith. Best show. Doesn't matter. It's the best sports show on television. There's nothing even close to those guys. And that's the reason why they win the Emmy every single year. Now, back to hockey. Sorry about the basketball segue. What are we talking about? Oh, the Pierre-Luc Dubois and the penalty shot. Sorry, Drew. You're right. This has been quite a.
Did you have a little caffeine today or anything?
No. I'm jazzed. I'm juiced. People are happy. People are excited. 2022 coming to an end almost, and the chat's bumping right now. But anyways, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, they blew the roof off, and I don't know again what it was like for folks watching it at home. I mean, obviously people are excited, but I don't know if it can convey. And we've got it on our Illegal Curve Instagram if you want to check out what it sounded like inside the building, because of course I videoed it for your benefit. So you can, or on my Twitter, but I don't want to just self-promote myself, Drew. It's all the time. Sometimes it's about the brand, Illegal Curve. So anyways, if you go to Illegal Curve on our Instagram, following us, of course, you can watch the what it sounded like inside the building. And honestly, the place blew up. The roof went nuts, or the place went nuts, and the sound exploded. And you're right, it was with authority. I mean, it was a pretty strong move by Pierre-Luc Dubois, nice goal, and it really got the crowd jazzed up and excited, and it changed the tenor of the game. It really did. Suddenly, now a game which, even in that second period, early the Canucks had a little bit of jump, but after that, it was just all Jets, and the Jets it went downhill for Vancouver, and it was just perfect for the Jets.
And then it got even more perfect before the second period was up again on the power play. And I mean, look, Vancouver's penalty kill is their Achilles heel. It's just atrocious. Yeah. And it was atrocious when the Jets went into Vancouver a couple Saturdays ago and won. I think it was 5-1, if I recall correctly. And the Jets had some power play success. And then tonight, this is with Ethan Bear in the box here. I guess Ethan Bear and Travis Dermott are both in the box. It's the rare 4-on-3 power play for the Winnipeg Jets that comes in a non-overtime situation. And it's Mark Scheifele, his 22nd of the season, his second of the game. It comes with 3 seconds to go in the second period. Kyle Connor and, of course, Josh Morrissey with the assists. And it's just an absolute killer for Vancouver. They've had a lousy second period. Maybe they're going to get out of that second period only trailing, by the 1 goal. Instead, Scheifele, shoots it through Colin Delia. Adam Lowry is providing a tremendous screen in front, and you can see that, Lowry is just so much bigger than Delia in this case, and it's 3-1 for the Jets right before the buzzer. It's about as great of a period that the Winnipeg Jets want in terms of a bounce back, a response period from what they had in the first period, which was lousy. They outshoot Vancouver 20-7 in the second period. They outscore Vancouver 3-0 in the second, and it's 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets after 40 minutes. It's exactly what you need. It's exactly the response you're looking for, and it's taking an advantage of a weakened opponent. Vancouver decides they want to get into penalty trouble. whether or not all the calls were warranted or not is a separate issue entirely. The
Yep.
calls were made, and the Jets did what a good team needs to do, and that is take advantage of it and really demoralize an opponent and remind them about how bad their penalty kill is, as if Vancouver had forgotten that they have the 32nd ranked penalty kill in the league.
Well, I mean, the reality is the people who should get the assist for that goal were the fans, because they're yelling shoot. I think that was the only reason why Mark Scheifele knew that he should shoot. But I mean, joking aside, I mean, 2.5 seconds to go in the second period, Drew, and it very easily could have been a 2-1 game. And you know what? If you're Vancouver and you're only down by a goal and it's a power play goal and a penalty shot goal, you're thinking, okay, well, this isn't this. We're still within easy striking distance of this game being a tie game. One goal obviously game is not a significant gap. So just a massive play by the Winnipeg Jets to, again, take advantage of what you've been very good at, which is the power play, and take advantage of what the Canucks have been very bad at, which is the penalty kill. And so exactly what the Jets needed to do was what they did, which is take advantage. Mark Scheifele, his second of the game, 22nd of the season, and he's feeling good. The crowd is feeling great. And you're right. It was a complete reversal of what we saw. Even though they didn't, like I said, start off optimally in that second, they managed to right the ship. And suddenly now they're completely in control of that game. And now you've got a 3-1 lead after 40 minutes, and you've got the crowd into the game again. And you've got everybody buzzed. And the reality, again, is it's a full house. So it is a good crowd. People are excited. And you can feel that Sam Gagner energy, and they kept flashing to it. And I don't know how much they showed on the broadcast, but like they would show, his stuff on the ice. They kept highlighting him and putting pictures of him throughout the course of the intermission. So the crowd was really excited, because I think it was the release valve that a lot of Jets fans needed was, and a 3-1 lead is not insurmountable, of course, but it was just kind of like that. Okay, it's not good, but this is the game the Jets needed to have. And despite all of the injuries, if they can bring this one home, which of course was still a question mark, but if they could in fact bring this game home, what it would do for what it did for the fan base, because it was, like I said, it was pretty evident for those of us in the press box.
So as you said, the fans were all chanting shoot or yelling shoot. Here's the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. It's Matthew Thompson. It's on the screen as he was yelling shooter. So Matthew, congratulations. You made me laugh, which means you win tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Wow.
You can, it's sometimes you never know. As I said, when Ezzy's not here, I get
arbitrary and capricious. That's what I would say.
Arbitrary and capricious. That is exactly what my middle name is both arbitrary and capricious. So Matthew, send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, or you can slide into my DMs @ICDrew, and we'll hook you up. Send me your mailing address. We'll hook you up with a toque, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. That's tonight's hardest hitting comment. Anytime you can make fun of
Matthew wants to know, Drew, he wants to know, is he the first 3-time winner?
I don't know. I don't keep track of that sort of stats. And if we were a professional operation, you think we might, but Lord knows, I think everyone realizes.
For the record, the contest that I run, let's just say there's a tight ship.
Yeah, there's tight ship on that. Well, again, this isn't mine. This is Ezzy's contest that I'm filling in the gaps for. And I mean,
Matthew's saying, Drew, you picked him all 3 times too.
Then look at that. Yeah, I guess I like your comments, Matthew. In that case,
Drew, as In Bones We Trust just said, that is a Tough Duck hat trick.
There you go. So what you have to do is you have to bring all 3 hats to a Jets game where somebody gets a hat trick, and you have to throw all 3 of them on the ice at the same time, and then you're just, I guess, maximizing your Tough Duck hat trick.
For the record, hold on. Spencer Sutton's questioning the veracity of our fully randomized contest, and for the record, Spencer, we've never suggested the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment is randomized in any way, shape, or form.
No.
In fact, it is completely just picked based on, I mean, I would say it's arbitrary, but It's definitely not randomized, because the IC contest where you can win authentic Jets gear, that of course is randomized. This is not.
Yeah, exactly.
Continue,
right. Thank you very much. There is no rhyme or reason to how we decide these things, but in any event, congratulations to Matthew Thompson. 3-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes. Vancouver makes it close. comes at the 13-11 mark. It's off a face-off win, and then a bit of a broken play, a bit of a fluky play. The puck ends up on the stick of Connor Garland after it goes off of Pierre-Luc Dubois' noggin as he's in the right spot to block a shot. Somehow blocks it with his skull, which is never where you want to block the shot with. It ricochets up in the air off the glass behind the net, and then from a bad angle as Connor Hellebuyck is sliding from his right to his left, Connor Garland banks it in, and all of a sudden the Canucks have some life when they really hadn't had any for the third period. With 6 minutes to play in that third period, the Canucks are only down by a goal, and it really could have been at that point in time 4-1 or 5-1, given the amount of grade A opportunities. We alluded to them before. Dylan DeMello gets absolutely robbed by Colin Delia. Kyle Connor, who seemed a little bit snake bit tonight, and maybe in the last couple games a little bit snake bit, where he's had some golden opportunities, aren't able to get it past Delia, who keeps the Canucks in it. But it's 3-2 at this point in time, Dave.
Yeah, and again, it's the third period. It's a 1-goal game, and things get a little tighter. You think it's a possibility at that point, because the Jets know that the Canucks really have nothing to lose. We expect their season. I mean, again, nothing. You never say never, and they have made a bit of a run. But you know that the Canucks feel good about themselves, right? Especially playing away from Vancouver right now. I mean, we know the fan base in Vancouver is a little bit rabid and a little bit excitable, and I suspect that. It seems like a lot of chaos is going on in British Columbia right now.
Yeah.
So
and not just at the airport.
No, and it's a good point, Drew. Not just at the airport. So you've got a situation where they're playing with house money on the road and feeling good about themselves. And Connor Garland, a guy who a lot of people have talked about, even for Winnipeg, as someone who might be interesting to folks, as a pickup for the Winnipeg Jets if the Canucks end up being sellers. Mm-hmm. Is the guy who's the recipient of that play and that goal. And suddenly now you're right. It's a tighter game. It is a 3-2 game, and there's a little bit more nervousness, a little more nervous energy in the building.
Yeah, exactly right. And then in a bizarre sequence, then the game, Scheifele scores into the empty net. As we all know, it's the hat-trick goal, his second hat-trick of the month, his 23rd of the season, on pace to, of course, shatter. He's had 38 previously. I think we may have misspoken when we were talking about it. He did have that year where he had 38 goals.
Yeah. I said 29, but 29 is what he had last year, I think.
Last year, exactly. Yeah. That's where we misspoke. Great assist from Adam Lowry, who makes the play, chips the puck out, chases it down, and then feeds Scheifele for the hat-trick goal. And that's exactly what you want to see from the two of them in that instance. But before that, it's just, you can see the miscommunication, where JT Miller has the puck behind the Canucks. They can't get Colin Delia out of the net. The Jets do a great job, probably spend a good minute to minute 20 in the Canucks zone, where Vancouver's unable to get anything moving. They're unable to break out. And then I think there was less than a minute to play, you see JT Miller yelling at Colin Delia, like, I have the puck behind the net here. We're in a secure position. You go to the bench, and Delia doesn't move. And eventually JT Miller sort of slams his stick on the crossbar and says, go, go, go. And that's what sort of, then they get the breakout out of their zone. It obviously doesn't end up with anything, because it quickly goes back into the Canucks zone that leads to the Scheifele hat-trick goal and the 4-2 goal. But it's just so bizarre. It's like they it looked like they hadn't practiced about how to do how to break out of your own zone and how to get the goalie off the ice in sort of in a set play sort of situation, as opposed to on the rush. I know it was on the rush, but I mean, the Jets weren't pressuring JT Miller. It was one of the Jets were sort of letting Miller set up behind the net, but it was just an odd sequence, and doesn't really reflect well on the Vancouver Canucks in that instance. It just looked like a team, you wouldn't have thought they'd won 3 in a row. You wouldn't have thought that they'd won 7 in a row on the road based on that sequence of events. You would have thought that they were the team the Jets played a couple weeks ago, where they just were horrible on home ice. But anyways, for the Jets' perspective, they're fine to see their opponent a little discombobulated. And the Jets take it by that 4-2 margin tonight, Dave.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you got to give Winnipeg credit, because I like the fact that they tried to bottle in Vancouver the way they did. And
they did a great job.
And they did a good job of it. And you're right, because it was with about a minute 40 to go in that third period. maybe more actually. Maybe it was closer to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And they really like hemmed them into their own zone, and Vancouver couldn't break out. And I mean, clearly the frustration was getting to them as they were, letting each other have it on the ice, which is never necessarily a good sign. And like you said, Drew, you got to credit the Jets for being able to do what they did, which is, hold Vancouver from creating any pressure in their zone and allowing them to try and get the tying goal. And then eventually you see the effort, and you got to credit Adam Lowry for that effort, because, if he doesn't score that goal, I mean, there's time, and it's like hockey. The time in a hockey game is not as significant, obviously, as sometimes in basketball with the 3,000 timeouts, but there's still a lot of time left, right? And instead you see a guy hustling his ass off to get to that puck. And sure enough, he puts it over to Mark Scheifele, and it's selfless. And he sets up Mark Scheifele for, as you said, and Mark Scheifele now is one back of Patrick Laine, which is remarkable given how few games Patrick Laine has played relative to everybody else. But Patrick Laine, of course, has the most 2.0 Jets hat tricks with 8. Mark Scheifele now at 7 for his career, second, as you said, Drew, of his, and that's something that's pretty remarkable about a Jets team that, we don't think of a lot of high scoring, particularly, especially early in the season. They weren't scoring a lot of goals, but now the Jets, from a hat tricks perspective, this is the third most they've ever had as a group, with 4 in the season. The second most was 17-18 when they had 5, and in 18-19 they had 8. That was the year that Laine had that like insane November, but and so the Jets had 8 that one year, but I mean 4 already, and that's a significant part. We haven't even approached the midpoint, and the Jets are already at 4, so that's a pretty significant, especially given the fact that, like we've talked about, you're missing so many regulars from this Jets group. And so, look, from a Jets perspective, you did exactly what you needed to do. You needed the 2 points. It was you needed to end it. You needed to be able to say that the narrative of the losing streak is over. And it's one thing we haven't seen this Jets group too, obviously, lose more. Like traditionally they've only lost a couple, but they, lost 3 for the first time this year. They put a stop to that, and now it's incumbent on them to see if they can try and build on it. Because right now you've lost. What did they lose? They lost coming into the game. They'd lost 3 in a row, but they'd also lost 4 of their last 5, right? Because they had that Seattle loss before the Ottawa win on that Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, it hasn't been a good December. And look, like I just said, you had a ton of injuries, and you played a ton of games.
That's what I was going to say. So obviously they have 1 game left, and I think I think I heard on the broadcast, and I might be misquoting, so apologies if I am, but they're going to finish the month of December at worst, I believe, 8-8.
Right.
Which is, given the litany of injuries they've had on their roster, given the number of guys who are out of the lineup, especially in the last sort of week to 10 days to 2 weeks, that's not bad. You're treading water. And had you lost tonight, then maybe you're not treading water nearly as well, but you're treading water decently. And when we come back, we'll talk about the injury update that Rick Bowness gave, because some guys are getting closer. Some guys have had a setback, but you really have to tread water, like we said, for another couple weeks. And you got, the schedule. I mean, it's not easy by no means. Is a game in Edmonton on Saturday easy, and a game against Calgary at home on Tuesday going to be easy. And you got Tampa on Friday, but you got Vancouver again after that, and then you got some teams that are from the East that you would hope that you're going to win those games on home ice. But in any event, the month of December quickly wrapping up. Saturday, 1 game left, and the Jets are doing a pretty good job so far of at least keeping their head above water, which had they not pulled off tonight's victory, then you'd really be wondering how close your hand is to hovering over that panic button. When we come back, more on the Illegal Curve post-game show brought to you by Betway. We'll touch on some more comments from the dressing room after tonight's game. We'll talk about the injury update. Maybe we'll look ahead a little bit to Saturday night.
And hopefully people listen to Darwin. Hit the like button, Drew.
That's right. Hit the like button. Do what Darwin says, folks. Hit the like button. Dave Manook, Drew Mandel with you. It's Thursday evening, a little bit before quarter to the top of the hour. You're watching the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. We're live on all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Thursday evening, I see things are going very well in the chat. And just to be clear, no, I do not have the authority to give away my in-laws' grandfather clock. So nobody is going to win the grandfather clock, no matter how many Tough Duck toques you've won. You cannot. It's not like we're at the carnival here, where you can trade up your Tough Duck toques for my in-laws' grandfather clock. They might notice why that thing that's been chiming every hour on the hour for the last 20 plus years
is no longer hanging there and doing its job. So just for the record, no, I cannot give away my in-laws grandfather clock, nor can anybody in the chat, but I do appreciate the suggestion. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk with you on this Thursday night talking about the Jets. It's a 4-2 win over the Vancouver Canucks on home ice, ends the Jets' 3-game losing streak, puts the Jets in position to at least end the 2022 portion of their home schedule on a positive note. Courtesy of our friend Murata Tesh, Rick Bowness came into the dressing room post-game to give Gagner a pat on the back. Of course, Gagner played in his 1,000th NHL game tonight. Murat asked Rick Bowness about his message. He said, quote, this is what Bowness said, "How many guys have played 1,000 games? 300 and something? How many of those guys have gone to the minors and come back? Not very many of them. A lot of guys have quit or retired or moved on. So you give him a lot of credit for going back to the minors for a couple of stints and still persevering. It's a major tribute to his character and his love of the game. You've got to love that." That is Jets head coach Rick Bowness talking about Sam Gagner. Gagner, of course, feted at tonight's game for playing his 1,000th NHL game in a very nice pre-game ceremony, Dave M.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I've seen so many guys go down to the minors, and going down to the minors can mean a number of different things. Some guys go down to the minors and still act as if they're good teammates. So, for example, who comes to mind for me is Andre Pavlik. Why I caused Drew to leave. Andre Pavlik is a guy who, a little Pavliktricity, but he went down to the minors with the Moose when they needed it, but he was obviously sent down. And ultimately, at the end of the day, he was a good teammate. He was good to guys down in the minors, and he obviously got a chance to go back up to the Jets. But it's not an easy thing to do when you're a guy who's used to playing in the NHL and you played, 800 games or whatever it was that Sam Gagner was sent down, and then you have to go down and play in the minors, and it could look bleak. And you're right, he ends up trying to reinvent himself and change, and things went well for him in Detroit last season, and the Jets took a chance on him, and it's paid off so well so far for this Jets club, and he's provided a lot of veteran savvy, and some nights he hasn't exactly had it, and sometimes you wonder if there's a necessity to give him a little, what do we call it, Drew, with what's his name, with Drew's waving, Drew's getting in trouble, he's making a little too much noise. Maybe he's telling people not to make noise, but
just saying hi to my father-in-law.
There we go. But is he going to have like a Sheldon-like entrance in the chat, much like Sheldon would jump in? Was that the first show we ever did, Drew, when your dad jumped in, or was that like when? That was. Ooh, Drew might want to mute himself or mute his father-in-law with all that racket he's making down in Kentucky. But you are in his house, Drew, so I guess he has the right to do whatever he wants. You are his guest. Load management, EKD. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for, or the expression I was looking for. Load management with Sam Gagner. You wonder if they will do something like that. Of course, right now with all the injuries that the Jets have, I wouldn't expect something like that. And look, there's a little bit of a nice symmetry here with him playing. Obviously, played for the Canucks. Would have been probably a little more appropriate if he would have done it up against the Edmonton Oilers, the team, of course, that he was drafted back in, was it 6 overall in 2007? So that's right. Everybody's in the chat is now recognizing that Drew's father-in-law, who hopefully was watching the show in his bedroom upstairs in Kentucky, heard people were going after his clock, and now he's shutting it down. He's making sure that grandfather clock ain't going nowhere.
He was just getting something out of the cabinet, but yes, I'm pretty sure he's unaware about the conversation about the clock. But the clock is still on the wall, so everybody's happy. That would have been really awkward if that had been my opportunity to try and pry the clock off the wall, and then
it actually would be amazing if Drew's father-in-law walks down and he goes, Drew, what exactly are you doing? I thought you were doing your show. Why are you removing that 200-year-old clock from as a family heirloom from our wall? And you're like, well, I have to give it to, unfortunately, I have to give it to Maul because he won it in our show. So as much as I would love to respect the sanctity of your home, we're going to have to take this with us.
Here's a funny, this has nothing to do with the
Jets. And
by
the way, Maul is now apologizing for derailing the show. Well, yeah, but as Maul knows, and as anybody who watches the show, it
doesn't
takes
take much.
zero to get this show derailed.
It really doesn't take a lot to derail the show. This one. Here's a random one. It has nothing to do with the Jets, but I think people will like it anyways. It's courtesy of Elliot Friedman. In the 2022 calendar year, the Coyotes and the Maple Leafs have played 4 times.
Okay.
The Coyotes have beaten the Maple Leafs all 4 times.
Oh, they won today.
They won 6-3 today. They won.
They were down 2-1 when I checked it out.
They won 4-2 October 17th. They won 5-4 March 12th, and they won 2-1 back in January. So how about
this?
This
is the only time it's appropriate on a Jets show, Drew, to talk about the Leafs, because you would have. I mean, we once got yelled at for having a Leafs question on of a national guest. So, but if you talk about the Leafs losing, I'm sure Steve Spencer's a little bit mad, but then C-Mac's happy. So, people are usually not so upset about this when it's talking about the Leafs and losing. That's right. Not necessarily a bad thing. By the way, I had a question and an email actually from someone today. Actually, we all got it, Drew. I don't know if you saw it, but
I don't think I saw it yet.
That probably not. But one of our IC guests wanted me to know, thought there was maybe a problem because he had left a comment on the iTunes page and said, but it didn't show up right away. And just a little FYI for those of you who I know, still 250 of you in the chat, so I know you're all going to do this before 2022 ends. But just because you leave the comment it has to get approved by iTunes. I would imagine they are worried about spam. So any comments don't show up right away. They take a few days to show up. But just so you know, we do appreciate it. So when I saw that, I said, no, don't worry. It probably is this. Sure enough, I went and checked and the comment was there. So if you want to leave a comment on our iTunes talking about how much you love these shows that we spend time doing, then we will happily accept your comment.
I did not get that email, but I'll check that.
No, I realized it actually. I realized it just went to me. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You're hoarding all the emails, but that's okay in this case. Dave, we have a unique code word, of course.
We do.
Yes, because you good folks only have a couple more games in which to enter and get your entries in before we award the grand prize for the month. Yeah, so I guess one more game, where you to award the grand prize for the month of tickets to an upcoming NHL game in January. True. So you better be getting your entries in, folks. That's what you need to be worrying about.
Alan's got like 5,000 entries for the record.
Does he really?
No, not 5,000, but he has 400.
Okay, well, that's a good number of entries. Alan's doing his work. And part of that job is to enter the unique code word that we give away here on the Illegal Curve postgame show each and every time. If you're wondering, where do I enter this code word? What are you talking about? Where am I? Who are you people? What am I doing here? You go to the show description. And in the show description, you'll see a link to the contest page. Click that link to the contest page. You'll see a whole bunch of ways and a whole bunch of things that you can do to gain entries and additional entries and more entries and bonus entries to be eligible to win some of the great merchandise that we give away here on the show. If you can't find it in the show description for whatever reason, just go to our website, illegalcurve.com, click basically any article, and you'll see a link to the contest page there where you will have the opportunity to enter the unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest for tonight's show. And that unique code word, Dave Minuk, is... I'm teeing you up, Dave, and you're
I know. I was trying. Unfortunately, I was trying to tweet, Drew, while you did that. So just in case people are thinking celebration of light, is that Hanukkah themed?
That's what I was wondering.
I know. See, and that's, I thought people might think that, but I am not going to go. I'm not like that, folks. I'm sticking to my guns. If the unique code word is always going to be tied to the city, province of the team the Jets are playing.
Yeah.
So, or state, of course, if they're playing an American team. But so celebration of light has nothing to do with Hanukkah. Absolutely nothing.
Is it a Diwali thing?
It is. I don't even know what a Diwali thing is, Drew. You're too fancy.
Diwali is a holiday.
Yeah. Oh, well, I thought maybe you're talking about Ronnie. What's Ronnie's last name again?
That's Dollywall.
Well, it's very similar, though, is what I'm saying. So, but that's not what I was saying either, Drew.
You're a master of race relations, Manuk.
Hey, I grew up in the North End, Drew. I'm a little bit more involved than you are. Let's put it that way.
What is celebration of light? Just get on.
Celebration of light, for the record, is for those who have spent time in Vancouver know that it used to be called the HSBC fireworks display that is every summer is put on in it. Now I think it's called Honda Celebration of Light, but I wasn't going to give Honda some sort of free advertising here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, or post-game show, I should say. So instead, it is just called the Celebration of Light. And I will say it is one of the best fireworks displays you'll ever see. Countries all come to Vancouver, English Bay, and they compete and they put on, it's all to music, and it's just insane. And I've gone a number of years, and let me tell you, it's honestly, it's incredible. Archangel Fireworks, shout out to the Winnipeg-based company. They represented Canada. In fact, when I was there, which would have been like, a long time ago, they would have won. They did win, sorry, beat China, no big deal. And so Celebration of Light is the festival that takes, oh, yes, there we go.
Hang on. This is the last show I'm doing from here, so you better enjoy it, folks. There you go.
There we go.
I have no idea what you were talking about with your Celebration of Light thing, but I hope other people were. In any event, Celebration of Light is the unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest.
It also kind of looks like flight too, right? So unfortunately, it's a little bit deceiving when you read it. You read it and you're like, celebration flight. Like, are we celebrating Ezzy flying home? Like, what's going on with this one? So Celebration of Light, folks. I'm sorry, it was a little bit obscure, a little esoteric. But you know what? Hey, I've been challenged. Drew and Ezzy mocked me for being too easy with the code words. And I'm sorry, but with the way Frosty and Alan and Bailey and everybody in the chat were guessing the code words, I needed to start changing it up. I wasn't going to do something like the Seawall or English Bay or any of the very easy, Granville Island. Like, come on, folks. I got to change it up a little bit here, make it a little more difficult for you. So there we go. There is the unique code word. Remember, get that one in, and you'll get entries for the next game, of course, which is on Saturday when we have that. And I'm also you're gonna count down New Year's with hopefully Ezzy and I, and you'll get a chance to win. Someone is gonna win a grand prize that night as well. So we're gonna give away authentic gear that night as well as the grand prize. So there's gonna be two winners on Saturday night. So spend your Saturday night with us.
Before Saturday night's winner, though, we have a winner for tonight's post-game
Oh, yes.
show.
I guess we actually should give it away.
Yes, we should. So please tell the good people in the audience who the winner of the merchandise contest is for tonight's game.
The winner is Tim Park, I believe. So Tim, hopefully you're there in the chat. Maybe you're not. Maybe you are. But interestingly
enough, of course, Tim is my father-in-law's name, so I think it's very apropos, given that we're trying to steal the grandfather clock as well on the show. That Tim Park is the merchandise contest winner.
By the way, I will say, and again, one of the highlights for me, and you people, everybody knows you people, everybody knows that in this show, because I love the fact that the chat acts independent of what you and I are saying, or you, Ezzy, and I, or whatever configuration we're running, but right now, for those of you who are listening at home on the podcast later on, there's currently a negotiation of people who are currently bidding on the clock and how much they want to spend on the clock. And somehow Joe from Winnipeg has just given Tim the clock, although I think Tim just won the IC merch contest. But hey, maybe Tim also won a clock. Maybe we should give away little IC clocks. I'll talk to our merch guy. Sorry. So Alan, you are right. You do have your own show, and we enjoy it and we appreciate it. So no, as far as I know, Tim Park has no relation to Grid Park. So we'll have to figure that out. But regardless, congrats to Tim Park for entering, and for all of those of you who have gotten your entries in. Again, two prizes to give away on Saturday. And then what happens on January 1st? Well, most people will be relaxing. I'll be working, setting up the next contest for you to get all your entries in. We start it all over again. And again, remember, the software is pretty adept at figuring out those of you who are repeating. So don't unfollow and then follow. There'll be plenty of opportunities to get entries in throughout the course. Like I said, you can go to the website every day. You can retweet us. And I try and add new things almost every day. So there's always opportunities to gain new entries. And of course, the most important thing and what gets you the most points is submitting the unique code word after these. Oh, I think there we go. Tim Park is in TH Power, Drew. That is Tim Park, I believe. So Tim Park is excited that he won. Way to go, Tim. Congratulations on winning the Illegal Curve contest. You've got some authentic Jets gear coming your way.
There you go. Everyone's a winner tonight on the show. This has been a very entertaining
We're all
one.
winners, and
That's
and most importantly, we got the grandfather clock twice, folks. Not once, but twice.
I'm going to show up.
Get it, Drew? Should we get it thrice? We're only like 56 minutes away. Let's roll.
I'm not thinking that I should be up till 1 a.m. It's a nice idea, but I'm thinking that I'm gonna tap out on that idea.
I'm gonna be up till 1 a.m.
I know you are, but you're a night owl, and it's past my bedtime. And as everyone knows, I get even grumpier the later these late night shows go, from my perspective. So I'm gonna let you do your work. I'm gonna let everyone else do their thing, and I'm probably gonna go to bed very shortly because it's past the time where I turn to a pumpkin. I won't be here, of course, on Saturday night, as I have a very early flight Sunday morning, and the post-game show beginning at 1 a.m. is not conducive for that.
Although, Drew, yeah. I will say, just as a quick aside, you may not have a choice. Just be aware, if Ginsburg pulls some sort of shenanigan, the fact that you still have an internet connection may necessitate you joining me for a brief. Although, what time would it be? Yeah, would it actually start at 1?
It would be 1 a.m. and it would be 1 a.m. here.
Drew, just show your dedication. Show your dedication. Everybody, like Larry's saying, he'll be up. Everyone's going to be up. I'll be hosting, Joe, for the record. Joe's asking who's hosting on Saturday. Oh, it's the Dave Minuk Show. As of right now, I have a tentative guest. I have to confirm with him tomorrow. Not guest, sorry, co-host or analyst on the show, who's been a past guest. Drew, what are you doing? Are you getting the clock right now?
No, I'm getting the hat.
Oh, okay. Wow. Indiana freaking Mindell right now. Why did you not wear that all show?
I didn't even notice that it was behind me. I saw somebody in the chat just say, put the hat on.
Can you turn your camera and at least show the clock? Like, is the clock like within like range of you showing everyone?
Yeah, I can walk with the clock.
Okay,
it's over.
Drew's doing a little walk. Don't make everybody nauseous here, Drew. Oh, there we go. The clock.
Sorry,
man. By the way, hold on 1 second, Drew. Don't do anything. Everybody. Just 1 second. Stay where you are. Okay, hold on. Keep going. 1 second. Keep going.
I'm not sure what you're trying to do.
And there we go. Now, hopefully, we have
a screenshot of something.
No, you'll see eventually.
I somehow don't think that I suspect I'm not going to be allowed to do the show from here anymore.
Probably not. Wow. See, look at what happens on the Illegal Curve After Dark. Usually this is, we're no longer live at this point, Drew, when we're descending into madness, but hey, let's just keep this rolling. I think we're pretty close, Drew. Now we're even closer to that midnight mark of a third clock striking, top of the hour.
A third striking of the clock. Yes, it's going to have to pass on that. I can record it and just play it constantly for everybody. We'll send a mass email to everybody just with the clock every hour on the hour. We'll send
Matthew Thompson's making a good point, Drew.
To that effect.
Matthew Thompson's making a good point. Hold on, I lost. I had it up for a second. There we go. Best post-game show ever. Worst podcast, however. Yeah, maybe a little chaotic for folks who are not necessarily watching our antics. But hey, maybe some people still like to listen to the show. Snaku, trust me. Snuka. Sorry, I said Snaku. I'm a little bit hungry, but let me tell you, I'd love to stretch it out for another 53 minutes. I don't think Drew's going to let me do that one.
I'd murder you. No, I would murder you. So instead, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for joining us. If I don't see you on Saturday, I'm going to wish everybody a happy new year and all the best for 2023. Or of course, we'll see you very early in 2023 with the post-game show after the Jets and the Oilers. But in any event, Dave M will be here holding down the fort on Saturday. He's doing a great job while Ezzy and I are all frolicking in different
Please
countries.
Talk about my Saturday, Drew. Talk about my Saturday. Come on.
Well, Dave is a very busy Saturday, folks, and Dave M. This is what he does for you good people. So on Saturday morning, he's going to do the Illegal Curve Hockey Show live here on our YouTube channel. He's going to do that because he's a man who goes the extra mile. After that, he's then going to go to the Manitoba Moose game. The Moose, I guess Abbotsford, is that who they're playing on Saturday night? Or Saturday evening for the annual New Year's Eve game. So he's going to go cover the Manitoba Moose game. And it's 4 o'clock. There you go. It's always at 4 o'clock.
Wait a second. Sorry, Drew. As a quick aside, before you keep on talking about me, and please just keep going. I believe I actually have tickets to that game to give away. We've already given away the tickets for the Friday game, and this would be my next opportunity to give away. So I can always go on Twitter and do that, but the giveaway machine is still here for the folks, and I'm still trying to stretch us for another 51 minutes. But if you want to go and spend your New Year's with moi, well, technically not with me because I'll be in the press box, but if you want to be somewhat close to me, but if you want to be in the building and you want to watch the Moose and the Abbotsford Canucks play the second game of their 2-game series here in Winnipeg, 4 tickets. I can give 2 and 2. I can give away 4 if you want one. If you want tickets, I see Dave or Dave@illegalcurve.com. Send me a message. Sorry, Drew. Continue, please.
So if you want, so Dave is giving away tickets to the Moose game that he's going to attend on then after the Moose game, he's going to hurry home and cover the Jets and the Edmonton Oilers as the Jets and the Oilers will ring in the new year in the Alberta capital. And then following that, your post-game show after the Jets and the Oilers, that's going to start right around about 11:45 p.m. Central Time. Dave will be there. I'm not sure if I'll be there. I don't think I'll be there. We're not sure if Ginsburg will be there. That depends on flights coming from Mexico. So Lord knows when we're next going to see Ginsburg. It might be 2024 when we next see Ginsburg. But somebody will be here on Saturday night / Sunday morning with Dave because the man knows no other way to be other than completely obsessed and completely at the service of our loyal audience here on the Illegal Curve post-game show and of course, website, illegalcurve.com. We want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website. They make it a possibility. They make everything we do a possibility. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Frost Winnipeg, if it's not already on the screen.
Well, it was, but Drew, it was, but that was like 10 minutes ago. So unfortunately, I gotta work my way back there. We've segued a few more times since Frosty Winnipeg was, generous enough to put it up, post it on there. Oh, you already got it. Wow, Drew, that was well done. All right, I was working my way back, but
yes,
you got it.
There. Well done. There you go, Kevin Bozeman at Rumors. If you don't have New Year's Eve plans, I believe there are still a few tickets left. You can get them online, rumorscomedyclub.com. Our friends at Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. They're, of course, the title sponsor of this here Illegal Curve post-game show. Our friends at Tough Duck, be like Matthew Thompson. Get multiple Tough Duck toques. You never know what you're going to do with all of them. Boston Pizza, Seagram's, ring in the new year safely, responsibly, and with some products courtesy of our friends at Seagram's, but emphasis on that safely and responsibly part. Of course, folks, do not get behind the wheel if you're going to be imbibing on Saturday night or any night for that matter. Rolly's Transfer. It's unsure if they can transfer you from party to party, but maybe check them out. They can transfer your piano at the very least, with or without Ginsburg. Grid Park, if you need a good parking spot, they'll take care of you there. And of course, the Keg, they are a great place if you are looking for a steak dinner or something else for the new year. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Big thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun, this post-game show. A lot of the Jets victorious, of course, 4-2 over the Vancouver Canucks. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave us feedback, leave us comments, particularly on the iTunes page. You get bonus entries in the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. For doing so, we're always appreciative of all of you who join us on each and every post-game show. Like I said, if I don't see you on Sunday, I wish you all a happy New Year and all the best for 2024. And we'll see you again soon. In time for Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, for the Grandfather Clock as well. We say good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.